Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. Now last time out we only managed to get one score correct, and it was Spurs beating Wolves 1-0, and that was the first game of the weekend for the Premier League. So I thought, I've got off to a good start. There could be a few here, but it ended with just that one. It's quite disappointing, but again, I got a score, so I'm happy with that. Let's aim for 2 here. Before we get into my predictions, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on another Premier League video. Let's get into my predictions. And we start off with a trip to St Mary's. Southampton take on Man United. Now Southampton, they didn't start great, lost to Tottenham 4-1. Then they managed to draw 2-2 with Leeds after being 2-0 down, so a good point there. And then they went to the King Power Stadium and beat Leicester 2-1. Good result, 4 points from 3 games. A good start for Southampton because I was quite worried about them, but they've managed to start well. Let's see if it can continue here. Man United, the visitors, lost their first 2. Didn't start well at all, lost against Brighton, 4-0 against Brentford. But then comes a game against Liverpool and they managed to win it. Don't think anyone expected it. It was great. I watched it. Man United were brilliant. They played it very well. The game was very intense and Liverpool's midfield couldn't cope with it. They had a midfield of Henderson, Harvey Elliott and James Milner. It was too slow. They couldn't keep hold of the ball. Man United's pressure was too much. And they scored some good goals. Ended up winning the game. Could that kickstart their season? Well, it should at least give them a confidence boost. For this one, I think I've got to go with the away side after that performance. Man United to win 2-1. Brentford take on Everton next. And Brentford, good start to the season. A draw. Then they beat Man United 4-0. But a 3-2 loss against Fulham. A very entertaining game that was for the neutral. But they came out the losing team with no points. And in that first half, Fulham destroyed them. They probably should have been about 4 or 5-0 up. But Brentford found a way to get back into the game, just like they did in their first fixture against Leicester. And it made it really interesting. Brentford have shown that they can score goals this season. I don't think that's going to be an issue for them. Up against this Everton side, who haven't started great. They've got 1 point so far. They've played Chelsea, lost. Played Villa, that was their only away game. Lost that 2-1. And then they got a point against Nottingham Forest. They did go 1-0 down. Managed to score just after. Demarai Gray, he's going to be the man really for them for the goals at the moment. I can't see them coming from any other player on that pitch. So it's going to be a difficult season for Everton. And to me, I think Brentford take the lead here. They go 1-0 up. Then Everton push and push and push. Brentford are a good counter-attacking team. Brentford to win it 2-0. Next up, an exciting clash. Brighton take on Leeds. And these two sides, both on 7 points, so they're undefeated. And they've been brilliant so far. Brighton, very tough start. Man United, then Newcastle, then West Ham. Those 3 teams are more than likely going to be fighting for, 7th place. That they're going to be around that sort of place. I think they will be 6, 7 and 8, to be honest, those 3. So it's interesting that they've managed to do so well against those sides. Obviously, Man United and West Ham haven't been in the best of form, so maybe that's something to take into consideration, but very impressed with Brighton nonetheless. They take on a Leeds side that have also been very impressive, and the most impressive thing was them beating Chelsea 3-0 in their last fixture. What a performance that was. They were brilliant. And all the people that were saying that Leeds would get relegated at the start of the season because they've lost their main players, Phillips and Rafinha. When you think about it, Phillips last season was injured for most of it, didn't feature too much. So they've really only lost Rafinha. from last season anyway, and they've spent so much money so wisely. You know, the defensive mids they've brought in, Mark Rocker and Tyler Adams, look brilliant. They've made so many good additions. Their squad is now not as thin as it is, so if they get injuries, they can cope with it. So I think Leeds are going to have a very good season. As for this game, anyone could win it. It could be any scoreline. I've got no clue how to call this. But both teams have started very well. They're probably very evenly matched. So I'm going to sit on the fence. 1-1. Chelsea take on Leicester now. And Chelsea, they started well. They beat Everton 1-0. Then they drew with Spurs 2-2 in a game that they were brilliant in. You know, they should have won it. Some dodgy decisions went against them, but they played so well that it was a massive positive that they could go on and play like that again. And then they lost 3-0 to Leeds, and that was an awful performance from Chelsea. So, in the space of, a week, we saw brilliant Chelsea and awful Chelsea. Don't know what version's going to turn up here, but they're up against the Leicester side that have struggled at the start of this season. Drew 2-2 with Brentford, an okay result, but they were 2-0 up. Then, they went and lost to Arsenal 4-2. Again, they got 2 goals, but they couldn't keep the ball out of the back of the net. And then the most worrying for me, they lost 2-1 to Southampton. They took the lead through James Maddison. Che Adams, I'm a Blues fan, so I really love Che Adams because he was brilliant for us. But he managed to come off the bench, score 2 goals for them, and Leicester lost it 2-1. So they are really struggling. And I fear for Brendan Rodgers a bit because he's got a lot of credit in the bank. He's done brilliant work with Leicester. But if they continue to perform the way they are, their big players are linked with moves away. So some of them might move. Kasper Schmeichel's already gone. They haven't brought anyone in. It's not a great time for Leicester, and I can't see them finishing anywhere near the top half. For me in this one, Chelsea's quality will nick it. I think Leicester will score because James Maddison has started the season well despite them not getting a win yet. So Chelsea to win it, 2-1. Liverpool take on Bournemouth next. And you'd expect this to be pretty easy for Liverpool, but they haven't started well at all. 2 draws against Fulham and Palace, followed up by a loss to Man United, who started really poorly, is kind of showing you that Liverpool are in a bit of a tough patch at the moment. Now, they have got a lot of injuries. Their bench against Man United was a lot of young players, a lot of players that don't really feature. Their midfield to start that game, Milner, Henderson and Harvey Elliott. I'm not sure that midfield is good enough for a top 10 finish. If they're your midfield all season, obviously they won't be, but it's a very weak midfield is what I'm getting at. So they haven't started well at all. They're up against a Bournemouth side that were brilliant on the opening day, managed to beat Villa 2-0, very good result that I don't think many people saw coming. Then they have been handed a bit of a tough deal because they had to face Man City, Arsenal, they obviously lost both of them, and now they've got Liverpool. So 3 very tough fixtures. However, I'm going to throw something out. It's going to backfire on me, but I've just got a feeling. With Liverpool's poor start, struggling to find the back of the net, they do look weak defensively because they push so high up the pitch and people finally seem to be actually getting in behind them. I don't know why people haven't done it sooner, but Bournemouth, I think Kiefer Moore has started well from what I've seen of him. He's a handful for defenders, he puts himself about. I think he could give Liverpool centre-backs a few issues in this game. And if Bournemouth, if they take their chances, which I think they can, they could get some out of this. This is going to backfire. I'm going to get ripped into. I'm not going to go all out on a Bournemouth win. Liverpool obviously have a lot of quality. I think they're in a tough patch. and I think Bournemouth will get something, however. So 1-1. Man City take on Palace next, and I'm really looking forward to this game, but I think it could be slightly ruined by an injury for Palace. Now, Man City, they have started really well. 2 very, very strong wins. Then they come up against a Newcastle side. They were 3-1 down, and Newcastle were brilliant in this game. But Man City just have that ability to get back into games very quickly. And they did. Man City are just such a good team. They can get back into a game so well. And yeah, they managed to do it. It was very entertaining. And I think that Man City are going to win the league this season. I said it in my pre-season prediction. They just look so strong, and they've got that ability to bounce back. Palace, they've started, well. They did lose opening day against Arsenal, but again, kind of expected. But then they got a point against Liverpool, and then they beat Villa. So 4 points out of those 3 fixtures is a very, very good return. And Wilfried Zaha has started the season brilliantly. That's my concern. I'm pretty sure he did pick up a knock against Villa, and I'm pretty sure he's going to miss this game, which means that the man who haunted Man City last season, who was so good against them, isn't going to be there. Palace last season were the only side in the league not to concede a goal against Man City, and they managed to get a win and a draw. So they were a nuisance, and Zaha was the main reason for that. With him missing, I'm not sure they're going to be as much of a problem. But if he's there, which I don't think he will be, if he is there, Palace could get something out of this. However, Man City, very strong, they're at home, I've got to back them, but I'm going for another entertaining, high-scoring game. Man City to win it, 3-2. And the late Saturday game sees Arsenal host Fulham. And Arsenal, the only team to win their first 3 matches. They've been very, very, very good. They managed to beat Bournemouth 3-0. Ødegaard with 2. William Saliba with 1 as well. Brilliant, brilliant finish from outside the box. They looked so good, and I think they're nailed on for a top 4 spot this season. They're up against a Fulham side that have started very well. Unbeaten in 3, and they've got draws against Liverpool and Wolves, and then beat Brentford 3-2 in a very entertaining game. I think that Fulham will get a goal in this game because they've been very good attackingly. Mitrovic has started the season well. But Arsenal look very strong. They look like they're going to be consistent, not slipping up against teams that they should be beating. So for me, Arsenal win it 3-1. Villa take on West Ham. And Villa, they have played 3 fixtures so far against Bournemouth, Everton and Palace. And they've only managed to come out with 3 points. A win against Everton. For a team that's supposedly striving for, top half but pushing for Europe, it's not good enough, and they haven't performed very well in those games either. So Villa, again, not really putting things together. Gerrard isn't seeming to have a very good start to life at Villa. Back end of last season they really struggled, and he seems to have carried that into this season. They're up against the West Ham side that have no points, lost their first 3 fixtures. Their last game they lost to Brighton. They haven't scored yet, they've conceded 5. Nothing seems to be going right for West Ham, despite the amounts of money that they've been pumping into the team. So I'm not sure how to call this one. I think West Ham will get their first goal because Villa do look quite vulnerable at the back. And West Ham are a good side. We know what they're capable of. And Villa haven't started well either. So for me, I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1. To the West Midlands now, where Wolves host Newcastle. Wolves haven't had a very good start. They've only managed to pick up 1 point. It was against Fulham, and they lost their last game against Spurs, and on the opening day they lost to Leeds. Not a good start at all, really, but they do tend to be a good defensive side. We saw that last season. It's just whether they can start finding the back of the net to start picking up points. Newcastle have started very well. They beat Nottingham Forest opening day, then up against Brighton, managed to hold them to a draw. Brighton are a good side, ran by a good coach, so that's a good point. Then they came up against Man City and managed to come away with a point. The first team to do it so far, the first team to score against Man City so far, and they put 3 past them. So Newcastle look like they're going to be competing this season for Europe. I think I predicted them 7th. I did predict them 7th at the start of the season. It's whether they can, keep this form going, because if they do, I think they will be in the top 7 by the end of the season. For this game, I think Newcastle have too much. Saint Maximin was brilliant in that game against Man City. I think he'll probably continue it here. They have signed Alexander Isak today. Whether he plays is a big question. Obviously he'll play in the next few fixtures, but I don't know if he'll be ready for this one. If he is, big bonus. If not, Callum Wilson's there and he is another brilliant striker. So for me, Newcastle win this comfortably, 2-0. And the final game, Nottingham Forest take on Spurs. Now Forest, they have started pretty well. 3 fixtures against Newcastle, then they went up against West Ham, and then Everton. They managed to get 4 points from those 3 games. That is a very good start for a newly promoted side. I know they've done a lot of business, their squad has changed a lot, but it's a good start. Spurs, they've started, well as well. They beat Southampton, drew with Chelsea, and then beat Wolves 1-0 last weekend. The thing here, Forest at home is going to be a hard place to go. But against West Ham, it was more that West Ham didn't take their chances. Now, Forest did defend very well, but West Ham, they missed the penalty, they were hitting the woodwork. They struggled in front of goal, but they created the chances very well. The thing I find with this game is when Spurs create those chances, their attack aren't going to miss. So for me, Spurs will run away with all 3 points, but Forest are going to put up a good fight. Spurs to win it, 2-1. So, those are my predictions for this weekend's Premier League fixtures. Make sure to get your predictions in the comments. In the description of this video, I will leave a fixture list, so just copy and paste that down in the comments and fill in your scores, and we'll see how you get on. Make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss another Premier League video. Hopefully your teams do well, there's some good games here. I'm out.